So I'm going to make $250 for 1 hour of work doing something that I've never tried to make money on before. And that's not even the crazy part. The crazy part is that it only took me about 20 hours to acquire all of this knowledge and get to a level of expertise to where it was worth it for me to be able to teach somebody for that point and the value to be there to be able to charge that. That's what's really crazy. So whenever I'm talking about things like upskilling and reskilling, I want people to know I'm doing this in my own life as well. Like, I am practicing what I preach, but I want it to be known that you can do this too. Anybody can do this. So I'm going to walk you through the process right now of how you can go from knowing absolutely nothing or, being at absolute zero on a particular area of knowledge or skill. And then you can get to a point to where you will be the top 10% in the world with just a couple minutes a day of focus on it. So first, the 20 hours that I used, I was actually using a specific learning technique called the Feynman Technique. And it's funny how far our institutions are when you look at the learning pyramid, I think it's called. If you ever Google it, you'll see an image of the learning pyramid. And our educational, system is not set up very well for proper learning and retention, because at the bottom of learning is just sitting there and listening to somebody talk. At the very top of the learning pyramid is you teaching somebody how to do what it is that you learned, right? So what the Feynman technique is, it kind of, flips that learning pyramid, on its head and goes, hey, we're going to start here with teaching. So first, what it does, you pick a particular skill or area of knowledge to where you want to get better. Okay. There's a lot of jokes going around about how often do guys think about the Roman Empire? Okay. Let's say you know absolutely nothing about the Roman Empire. Well, what you would do is you would say, I want to learn more about the Roman Empire. So then what you do is you spend now that you've defined the topic, you go and you try to, you learn a little bit about it, and then you try to teach somebody what you've learned. Then as you're teaching them, and maybe they're asking you questions and you don't know what the answer to those questions are, then you go back and you refine. You take that, you assess, again, you fill in those gaps of knowledge that you realize, hey, they asked me all these questions, I didn't know the answers to them. You find those answers, and then you go back and you say, okay, now how can I reteach that person what I've learned and do it in a better, more effective way that's also a lot more accurate. And the entire point is that we are learning with the mentality of the fact that we will teach somebody else what we have learned to do or have, gained knowledge in. So when you're doing it that way, it completely changes the way that you are studying. It changes the focus. And that retention of, or the point of retention and like simplifying the things that you're learning in order to communicate it really helps it stick in your brain better. So the Feynman technique is something that I utilize a lot for myself, and normally I'll do it in about 20-hour blocks. Now, how long it takes me to get through those 20 hours, maybe I knock it out in a week. Maybe I do it over the course of 3 months. I don't know. But the point is, however I'm doing it, I'm keeping in mind as I'm going through it, it's like, okay, if I was going to teach somebody how to do this, how would I structure that? And for somebody like me, who's not even a particularly organized person, I'm kind of like middle of the road when it comes to that stuff. That has really changed the way that I operate around a lot of things. And it's been extremely helpful in a lot of different areas of my life. So that's the Feynman technique. Now, Jesse Itzler, I believe, was the one I saw a video on. He's a very well-known entrepreneur, married to Sarah Blakely. Another great entrepreneur, started Spanx. And one of the things that he talked about, he's very much focused on human performance and a lot of other things. And I heard him talking about this at a keynote, and he said, if you do something for 100 hours, you study, you work on a skill, whatever it is, if you do it for 100 hours, that breaks down to 18 minutes a day. Do you have, call it 20 minutes, do you have 20 minutes a day to where you could just focus on learning about something, advancing your knowledge in a certain area, or practicing a skill? If you do that, that's 20 minutes a day over the course of a year, you will be in the top 10% globally of that skill set. It doesn't matter if it's carpentry. It doesn't matter if it's playing violin. working on your, having a great golf swing, 100 hours will put you in the top 10% of the world. And I think that that's such a great framing, because so many times when I talk to people about upskilling and reskilling, they get kind of intimidated. The idea of putting all of this time to get better at what they do, it just feels daunting for some reason. And I think when you break down the math and show them that, listen, during the course of the year, can you break that 100 hours into 20 hours of focus? So over the course of a month, you're just like, hey, I'm going to do it I'm going to practice this for, 2 hours a day on the weekends, kind of a thing. You do something like that and you will find your skills advancing so far beyond and at a speed of learning so much faster than everybody else around you, that you will inevitably be up for pay raises. You will inevitably be up for promotions, lots of different things like that. So when it comes to upskilling, which again, as I talk about that in other podcasts, but upskilling is just getting better at skills you already have. So if I'm a carpenter, maybe instead of just learning how to, cut wood and, put the nails in, I actually start learning how to cut at specific angles. And I really start, doing a little bit more of the finer work, or learning how to build something like custom cabinetry. These would be, upskilling. Reskilling would be learning a new skill that is complementary. So if I am somebody who has a podcast and I know how to do sound editing, well, learning how to do lighting and video would be something that would make my podcast even better. It's a completely separate skill, but now I have a video podcast, so it makes it even better. So upskilling and reskilling are going to be the things that are going to drive your income higher over the course of your career, whatever you end up doing. And it needs to be something that we need to just calculate as part of our regular work year. You need to, some places even require it because they know, like, hey, you're in the medical field, or maybe you're in, some type of finance. Things are constantly changing. You have to go get learning certifications and continued education and different things like that. So some industries even have it built into the actual job. But if you take that extra step and you go a little bit further and you customize your skills more and build your modern skill stack, it will bring you to a point to where not only can you make more money doing what you're doing, whether that's through promotions, being able to charge more for your skills or knowledge, whatever the case may be. But then, like me, you may end up finding little niches to where it's like, oh, well, I know how to do that really well, and here's a person that needs it. I can charge you for it, and here's a certain outcome. And then you can start finding other areas of income as well. There is zero downside to continually learning new skills, bringing in knowledge that is going to be able to help others. And then if you throw in the Feynman technique on top of it, and you do all this from the place of, I am learning this, not just so I can know it, but I am learning it so I can teach it. If you do it that way, then you're going to be setting yourself up for success in a way that you've never done it before. So hopefully that helps give you a little bit of a process of what I do in my everyday life, the way that I'm focused on learning. This is how I go. I have lots of different ways that I can make money, and a lot of ways that I don't even try to yet that I know I could start if I ever wanted to. So that is the benefit of focusing on this continual learning, breaking things down into 20-hour blocks, doing heavy focus times, and making sure that ultimately your skills are continuing to advance over time so you can make more money over the course of your life.